One Friday Fights 108 took place just yesterday and it was filled with a bunch of finishes. But Kong Chai stole the show after he beat Chokri Cha for the second time. I will be recapping this fight card next in Fighting with Friends. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Fighting with Friends. It's your boy, brother Gaia, back again, giving you guys another recap of One Friday Fights 108. What a fantastic fight card! A bunch of amazing performances, fantastic debuts. Fight Kong Chai definitely stole the show. So we will start at the top of the card as always, where Kong Chai fought Chok Prik Cha, the power puncher, for the second time. If you remember the first fight, they had a fantastic war for 3 rounds, back and forth, but Kong Chai was just too smooth, too slick, used fantastic footwork, and ultimately got himself the winner by unanimous decision. But this time, he won the fight via KO in the second round, and I was off my seat, shouting at my partner's ears, just having a fantastic time watching this fight God take place. And I did think that Kong Chai was going to win. If you watched the preview, I did say that he was going to win the fight. However, I thought he was going to win the fight via decision or maybe even stoppage in the later round, maybe like round three. But he got the job done a little bit earlier this time, and he did exactly what he did in the first fight. He didn't even change the game plan. He did exactly what he did in the first fight. He utilized the footwork. He was able to be more defensively sound in this fight because in the first fight he did get dropped in the first round. Kong Chai's defense was absolutely amazing. We know that Chokri Cha is a power puncher. He doesn't necessarily kick that much. He kind of just walks you down and throws a lot of heavy shots to the body. And then once he gets into the clinch position, he kind of throws hard elbows. But Kong Chai was just defensively sound. He was able to actually bring on or spur on that the or invited the clinch positions. And when they were in the clinch positions, he was just slipping all those shots through his elbows, hard shots to the body. And we know that Chokricha had to work on that defense in terms of um, avoid those hard body shots from.
There we go. Yeah, we know that Chokri Chai had to defend those body shots, particularly coming from Kong Chai's left body kick. And he did a bit well in that first round. One thing I noticed that was different from Chokri Chai in this one is that he was able to use the high knee guard, lifting up his leg, lifting up his knee to kind of avoid those body kicks. But Kong Chai kicks freaking hard because it didn't take long before Chokri Chai dropped that defense, and then he was allowing that body shots to come in now, and not only from the left body kick, but when they got into the clinch positions, Kong Chai threw a lot of left and right body knees. Just beautiful stuff, breaking down the base of Chok Prik Chai, and then the finishing sequence. I think Kong Chai just leveled up. He just leveled up, and I think that he didn't get the contact. He did get 350 baht bonus, but I think he's got 12 fights in the one championship now, and I think he's got 8 wins of that 12. So yeah, let's give this kid a contact. I know he's only 23 years old, but let's give this dude a contact. Or give him a contacted fighter. Give him a rematch against Ondash. That fight was very controversial for me. I think give him Ondash again and very, very soon, actually. I think on Ramadan Ondash actually might have an opponent coming up very soon. So Kongshai, I would have said giving him someone like that or give him another athlete that is pretty much within that contact position, or if they don't have one, that's very close to getting one, let Kongshai fight that fighter next. So he's done for me more than enough to be worthy of a contract, especially finishing Chokricha at 150 fights. No one else has done that. Kongshai has done it. That finishing sequence was beautiful because he kind of slipped Chokricha's over and left and then just threw the 1-2 uppercut and pretty much just like slipped him. And I thought, look at this, look at that. If he didn't get a contact, it was a little bit upsetting, but he got the bonus, and he didn't seem too angry at that. He actually seemed quite chuffed that he got the bonus. And also, one thing that was quite significantly different in Kong Chai's corner is that he had Suryan Lek there as well. And I think Suryan Lek is also very similar style to Chokpik Cha, although Suryan Lek does throw some leg kicks as well. The Chokpik Cha doesn't necessarily throw that much. I think Kong Chai had a very good training partner to sort of build up a very good game plan and have fighting Chokpik Cha before. He came into this fight with a very good game plan and got himself just a very flawless finish. And this was a fight card that was full of a lot of finishes, right? But Kong Chais has to be the one that stole the night because of how he set it up. And he just fought so cerebrally. Like, I don't think he was going to lose this fight. I don't think anything that Chopracha could have done to have made Kong Chai lose this fight. If he had lost the fight, it would have been maybe of a broken hand or maybe a cracked a rib of some sorts. Because he didn't look like he was going to slow down. And yeah, big ups to him. I have to clap hands for that because that was definitely top performance. And another thing I have to say, and to be my conclusion on this fight, is Kong Chai has now quite consistently been fighting in the strawweight division. So he hasn't necessarily been fighting a lot of catchweight fights. So he's kind of prepared very nicely to go into that strawweight Muay Thai division. And I think that if Prajan Chai, I do think that he might not be able to have hold the title until Kong Chai gets to that title contention, because right now he's 23 years old. One Championship hasn't really progressed his career in the way that his performances kind of forces. You know what I mean? So by the time he's going to get a title shot, I don't think that Prajan Chai will be the champion at that point. So but I do think that Kong Chai is definitely going to fight for the title. I do see it in his future. I mean, with a performance like that and the style that he has, and he's got probably one of the best footwork you will see in how he's able to move around and how he sets up his attacks. And he's difficult to beat, man. He's really difficult to beat. Even though Dash beat him in his last fight, and Chat Payak. Chat Payak should get a contact as well, by the way. Um, those are difficult fights for those athletes. They had a tough time fighting against Kong Chai. And I think Kong Chai has got the mindset of a champion, because he doesn't get discouraged when he does lose. He just gets back to the drawing board, puts on a good game plan, trains really hard, and he's motivated by faith. He's motivated by his family. He's motivated by just being a very good athlete, and that's a tough person to beat. So, congratulations to Kong Chai on that performance. Right, ladies and gentlemen, give me your thoughts, of course, on that recap. Who do you think that Kong Chai should be fighting next? Let's get that conversation going, because I think he's worthy of a top opponent after beating Chocolate Cha twice, by the way. Let's go down the card. I didn't do a preview on the co-main event, but it was a I did do a preview on the co-main event, just because Bonchat, it was a debut, right? When there was a preview, he didn't even have a photo on the website. Now he does, and fantastic fight, actually, really back and forth. Long Earn deservedly won the fight by unanimous decision. I think that he was the more powerful puncher. He did lose the first round. I thought that Bonchat looked fantastic, a little bit bigger, actually. I didn't think he was that massive for the division, but he came in a lot heavier not heavier, but he came in with a bigger frame than Long Earn, but it didn't stop Long Earn from doing what he does best, right? He closed down the distance. Once he got his read in that first round and went to attack and went to actually avoid the shots of Bonchat, because Bonchat didn't really throw sort of like how do I say, uh, he wasn't too random with the shot selections. He was very sort of you know what I mean? Like he just went 1-2 kick, 1-2 kick, uppercut, 1-2 kick. So what happened was the pattern became quite readable for Long Earn, and then he kind of just, once he's able to read that pattern and let his hands go, he started busting up Bonchat, like really like busted him up throughout the second and third round. And yeah, rightfully won the fight for me. I mean, finally getting his dub back after losing 3 fights in a row. I think he definitely got that dub. And I did say in the preview that he needed to get this win, and he did. And I think he got a good performance. I'm not sure now, if I remember as well, if he got a bonus, but I think if he had gotten the finish, he probably would have gotten the bonus, but unfortunately he didn't. And I think that was a good debut showing from Bonchat. Even though he lost the fight, I thought that he looked phenomenal. I like the way he fights. I just think that he needs to start, once you notice that your first pattern or your first set of moves don't work anymore, you need to go to the next one, right? It doesn't mean you're abandoning plan A. It just means you need to recycle, but go through the next repertoire of moves that you have. Because Long Earn found the pattern, and once he found that pattern, he cracked Bonchat the whole time. So yeah, Bonchat just needed to kind of, for me, go to the next move, go to the next plan, because you're getting pieced up here, and he was getting pushed back quite a bit, and he didn't have anything coming back in the second and third round, but he didn't get finished. He was very durable. He took those shots, and I was quite impressed by the performance, even though he lost. So I'm very interested to see what the One Championship does with Bonchat next, because he came into this fight with a lot of hype and a little bit of accolade as well. So let's see what happens. But Long Earn has been a standing name in One Championship, and going down 3 fights in a row, you kind of get put into a position where it's like, this is my next. You know what I mean? I have no choice here. I have to give it my all. Otherwise, if I go down another 4 losses of my career, it might not. It's difficult for guys to come back from that. And he fought like he actually hasn't even lost 3 times in a row. So big ups to Long Earn. So much, got a good fighter there, and I'm quite excited to see him come back. He didn't take a lot of damage, so I'm pretty sure he's probably gonna fight very, very soon again. But I'm not sure who. Not sure who. We'll have to see. Right now, he's not that consistent enough to me to go, okay, that's the guy. And because we see a lot of these catchweight opponents, it's like he's always going to have a random opponent next. You know what I mean? Instead of like, if you think about Kong Chai, because he's fighting strawweight so consistently, he's fighting guys that are quite consistent in the rankings, if that makes sense. Not when you're fighting catchweight, it's like your opponent's always going to be different next, especially on these Friday fight cards. But yeah, long run, big ups. He deserved that win. Right. This is the fight that I thought that was most anticipated for to watch. And I'll tell you why. Just because Song Payak, that Payak name, right? Pan Payak was in his corner. Pan Payak, apparently, I think is his uncle. I thought it was his bigger brother, but it's his uncle. They got a similar frame, very similar style as well. And he came into the one championship with a lot of hype. Just because he burst onto the scene at this young age. He's built like an older man for 17 years old, and there was a lot of hype around him coming to this one. And then he fought on Akalak, and Akalak didn't look like he was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, Pan Payak, the angel warrior is in your corner. He was like, I'm gonna end this kid's lights tonight. And that's exactly what he did. I thought the fight was gonna go a bit longer, but you could see once the first round started, I think Akalak landed a massive left hook. And then from that left hook, it kind of just walked Song Payak down. And Song Payak's eyes were so wide. He looked like he was a little bit like, what's the word? He fought the occasion, if that makes sense. He was a little bit shell shocked by the lights, by the buzz, because it's a bigger stadium than or bigger not stadium. He's fought in other big stadiums as well. But this was the first time he fought on the 4-ounce glove system, right? And this is also the first time that he's fought on a stage that looks that big with that amount of lights, and it's quite massive. I mean, the other events in Thailand, the Rajamdan Earn Stadium, and those other events are big, but they're big in Thailand. One championship has got a global pull at the moment, so there's a lot more eyes on them in comparison to the other, like Thai Fight League and those guys. So I felt that maybe the event was just a bit massive for him because he was fighting very much discouraged. He was on the back foot. He was fighting defensively and very reactive. Not his usual flow state kind of vibe. When you see Song Payak fight, he's kind of like gets the crowd pumped in terms of his antics in the ring and how he kind of just owns his opponents. He's fought a lot of big guys, and he's just never looked as discouraged as he did in this fight. Nakalak just looked like he had one game plan only, and that was to kind of like ruin the hype and kind of like burst the bubble of the young kid, and that's exactly what he did. Knocked him out in the first round, second round, and that was a beautiful left hand, by the way, because he switched his stance and he threw the right hand, but it was almost like a lure, it was a fake right hand. He didn't really put a lot of power behind it, and that kind of opened up the guard of Song Payak. And then once his guard opened, move him back with his head not off the center line, allowed Akalak to just throw a left hook into that void. Boom, clipped him on the chin, kind of dropped him there. He got dropped before that from a cleaner left hook, by the way. But I kind of felt that once that first left hook landed, Song Payak didn't really have anything coming back. He couldn't shake the cobwebs, and that led to his demise. And Akalak just beautiful finish. And if I'm not mistaken, he got a bonus as well. So big ups to Akalak there, and I'm amped to see him fight again because he's a powerful puncher, and in this lower divisions, this 124, 122 pounds, there's not many guys that pack a lot of power, you know what I mean? And this guy does. So very exciting. He's also very young. He's only 20 years old. So very amped to see what he's got to do. He's very humble as well. So I'm very amped to see how he performs. And for Song Payak, he's only 17 years old. That's the first time fighting 4-ounce gloves. It's okay. Every athlete in their career has to take a loss, has to take a knockout, take a bit of a knockdown. And he's got the talent, and he's got the angel warrior in his corner. So he's going to become one of the prospects for the future. So yeah, keen to see what he's going to look like when he comes back. And it's only his debut. So it's okay. He will perform. He will perform. But as always, let me know in the comments who you think Song Payak should be fighting next, as well as Akalak. At the moment, they're not in any division, but I'm sure they will give these guys some opponents to, curate their career kind of carefully. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to move on down the card to where we saw Lekla. He lost, unfortunately, to my guy, Brazil, by unanimous decision. And I did think Brazil was going to win the fight. I didn't think he was going to get the stoppage because he doesn't necessarily have a lot of power, but he's very elusive. He's got speed advantage over a lot of his opponents. And that's kind of what we saw in this fight. That was majority of what was happening here. Lekla is the longer fighter. I did say he utilizes a jab really well. And so what was landing on Brazil, a lot of those jabs were there. But Brazil was just a lot quicker and more elusive, and he had a very good counter for that jab, because sometimes when there's a jab-heavy opponent, sometimes those jabs are not there to hurt you. They're sometimes there just to get you to kind of focus on it, and then they land something bigger. But Lekla didn't necessarily follow up with the right hand as much as he would like to. And then what Brazil did was he just countered those lazy jabs. Whenever they did come out, he just 1-2'd it. And that's what got him the knockdown in the first round. And you kind of saw that Lekla didn't really recover from that knockdown. And it was later in the fight, wasn't that one. But Brazil just was too smart, too quick, too elusive, very evasive most of the times. did a really good job in not taking any damage. I mean, there was a time where I think it was a strong, hard jab that did land and kind of knocked Brazil's head back. But I mean, at that point, the fight was already won for him, and he was just kind of cruising in that third round. And yeah, both of them were getting tired. You could see they got a little bit lazy and sloppy with their attacks to the last, say, minute of that third round. But what do you expect when you throw in so much heat, in the first two rounds? But Brazil, he needed to get back on the win column. He did exactly that, and he's an exciting talent. He's a very exciting talent. 126 pounds. I expect to see him um, as he gets older, because he's quite jacked actually. I expect him to kind of go into bantamweight, and which is still a very difficult division to fight in. It's one of the scariest divisions, other than maybe the flyweight as well. But maybe bantamweight, maybe flyweight, we can see him dance around there. But at the moment, he's probably gonna have to fight a couple of more times before we kind of see him get fighters that are close to those rankings or close to that division where he's fighting, particularly in that division. But Brazil, I did call it, man. This kid is phenomenal. I just want him to have a little bit more power. Because the thing is he heavily relies on his speed, which is really good, right? But if you can just sometimes sit down on some of those punches, like when he did throw the one, when he sat down on that right hand, he dropped his opponent. So I think that should give him some kind of like encouragement that he does have that power if he sits down a little bit more on his punches. But big performance from him. I don't think he got any bonus there, but a very good performance from him. And yeah, let's see what he does next in the future of his career and also for one championship, because I do think there's a potential star in that kid. Right. Then we're gonna move on to another fight, which was super, super exciting. Back and forth, literally from the first round. Petnaya, he fought against Mahesh Suwan, and this was a beautiful fight. This was atomweight. These guys obviously very close to the division I just spoke about before this. And yeah, like I said, back and forth from the beginning. Petnaya was really good in the first round, throwing some hard body kicks. You could see that Mahesh Suwan was kind of not fine in his range in that first round. Threw some body kicks, but he wasn't fine in the range. But he was there, a durable guy. But then there was a moment in the first round where I think it was the last 40 seconds where Petnaya landed a fantastic left straight, dropping Mahesh Suwan, and ultimately won that first round for me. So this is where it gets a bit tricky in terms of the judging. And I find, let me know in the comments how you feel about this, but I kind of think that they should kind of change a little bit of the rhetoric of the judging, because just because you get a knockdown, right? You win the fight, you win that round, but there's literally 6 more minutes to come, which is 2 more rounds next, right? If you're losing that 6 minutes of that of that fight, how do you still win the fight if you only won the first round? You know what I mean? Because what happened was in the second round, um, Petnaya was fighting back foot. He was fighting back foot the whole time. He couldn't really push forward the way he wanted to, because then Mahesh Suwan was pressuring. He was looking to get that knockdown back. He was throwing some hard boxing combinations and landed quite a few shots. And you could see that Petnaya was only resorting to a body kick now, because he was just being very defensive. He slowed down quite dramatically. And there was a few moments where he was getting rocked. He didn't get dropped, by the way. He was no knockdown, but he was getting rocked quite significantly in that second round. He wasn't looking really good. Fighting very reactively. And for me, when a fighter fights reactively, that you're not winning the fight, because you're depending on a counter strike. You're hoping that this guy's gonna miss and you're gonna counter at him. Whereas the other opponent is pressurizing you, it's getting you tired, they're making you fighting backwards, and they're landing a little bit more significantly on you, getting you rocked. You can't score against that person for doing that. So for me personally, I think Mahesh Suwan won that second round. Then in the third round, he actually almost got Petnaya out of there, like rocking him to the point where he was so bloodied up. He didn't know how to fight back. He was basically, for me, it was a 10-8 round, even though he didn't get the knockdown. He didn't have any offense. He didn't even have any defense in the third round. Mahesh Suwan literally won that third round in a way that you have to give it a 10-8, because the other opponent didn't do anything. You know what I mean? In other sports, whether it's boxing or MMA, that's technically 10-8. You're not winning that round at all. They can't even give you a point for it, because you had nothing. You weren't even defensively sound. So I think that they should kind of rework the judging structure in terms of a knockdown shouldn't guarantee you the round, especially if you lost the round and then at the very end of that round you get a knockdown and then you're like, oh, now we have to give it to this guy because you almost ended the fight. Okay, you almost ended the fight, but he lost the other literally 90% of the fight of the round. Then in the other 2 rounds, he didn't do anything really. So yeah, it's a bit tricky. But at the end of the day, that's not me saying or throwing shade on Petnaya. I still think Petnaya is a phenomenal fighter, and he's still very dangerous, because even in those back foot moments, he was dangerous. He did land some good body kicks, but Mahesh one was just so durable and conditioned. He was able to walk through that and land his shots, which were a lot more damaging. So Yeah, I think for the future of Muay Thai, they're gonna have to restructure that because it kind of leaves a bit of a sour taste in the fans, I would say, because yeah, the guy's losing the whole time and then just gets that one knockdown, and then the other guy starts winning the whole time and potentially nearly gets a knockdown as well, and the other guy's face is completely busted up. You have to score to Mahesh one because he, for me, if you and especially because the judging rules is on the whole fight and not just the one round. In that rhetoric, Penpaya only literally won 10% of the fight. But anyway, give me your thoughts in the comments, please. I'm sure there are people that are a lot more experienced about this that can give me their thoughts on how this actually works. But in my eyes, I didn't think he actually won that fight. But it was a very fantastic fight on the night. It was back and forth, very brutal. I got the crowd on their feet for sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna move down. I didn't intend to do the whole entire card, but here we are. Pet, I'm gonna try and say this surname. It even has ellipsis on it, so I'm gonna just click on it, which means the surname is a lot longer than that. Right. Pet Suwan Luang Tuok, 18 years old. I hope I said it correctly. Won this fight against Pet Na Ruang. There we go. Fight didn't really go that long. It was a good first round for Pet Nuang Ruang. Wasn't too bad. He was doing okay. He was landing a couple of things here and there, some good kicks, some good punches, but Pet kind of just kept his guard up and was quite durable. And he wasn't really looking like he was discouraged by anything that was thrown at him. He was just like blocking it, walking him down, closing the distance, throwing a couple of jabs out there. He's got a lot of heavy hands. His style is a lot like Chokpik Cha, where he just lets those hands go. Because then once they got to the second round, that's what he did. He let those hands go and he was just like throwing some heat at Petna Ruang. There was a barrage of strikes. I think he got 2 knockdowns, but the second knockdown, Petna Ruang unfortunately didn't make the 8th count, and then leaving Pet ultimately the winner. And that's, I think, 2 stoppages in 2 fights now from him. The dude looks fantastic, and I think he's going to be a name to recognize, whether it's going to be in the strawweight or the atomweight division. I expect Pet Suwang Luang Dork. I expect him to be something phenomenal as we go forward. Because his best attribute that I've seen these last 2 fights with him is his composure. He's very composed in there. Doesn't look shell shocked. He doesn't look scared of the lights. He doesn't look discouraged of his opponents. He's just very composed. And when he got that barrage of punches going, let those hands go freely. You could see that Pet Na Ruang didn't do. He didn't want that heat, and ultimately he folded to the barrage of strikes, and he got dropped very badly in the second round. Ultimately, giving Pet Suwang Luang Kroatok the win. Let me know in the comments who you think he should be fighting next. I think that they should literally give him as much fights as possible because now that we know that Naraka Yoshinari is basically going to come to the One Championship now, and they're going to build the division around him. When I say division, I mean the atomweight division, or is it a bit lower than that? I think it's the atomweight division. I expect fighters like Pet to go in there and challenge him. I don't know if he will get the job done because Naraka Yoshinari is one of a kind. So but Pitt can definitely put a lot of guys away in that division. So I'm excited for the atomweight division. It's by time that they start. Maybe even do a Grand Prix. Maybe even do a Grand Prix so we can fill up a roster and then get a champion at the end of the day. And I think Naraka Yoshinari is kind of the foregone conclusion, but he still has to go out there and fight, right? So put the Grand Prix out there. Let's get an atomweight champion, and let's get these young or these lighter guys fight more because they put in fantastic fights, honestly. Sam A was one of the dudes that kind of started that, if you think about it, but he kind of went up and just competed in so many different divisions and kind of not neglected, but kind of vacated that atomweight division. So I want to see Pet and this Pet over here on the left fight a lot more because he's a fun fighter to watch. Go back and watch this event because he was just hella entertaining. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's keep it moving to the featured bout of this fight card, which was the main event on the undercard. And this was the fight that actually lit the crowd up the most, which was quite amazing to see and surprising, even though Kong Chai for me stole the show of the event. And I mean the crowd did go wild for him. But the noise just like skyrocketed for this fight. It was the debut for Jermaine Porcumo. I hope I'm saying that correctly. He's from France and Equatorial Guinea. This dude is massive. I don't know how he made lightweight. But memory serves me correctly, the lightweight division in One Championship is not 155 pounds. I think it's actually a bit heavier than that. I think they're fighting 170. If 170, if I'm not mistaken, because this dude was massive, and there's no ways he was making 145. Even Teng Nuang, how did he make 155? So it's not 155. I think they fought 170, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, fight was absolutely amazing because it's almost like a Rocky movie. Yeah, Teng Nuang came back from 2 knockdowns, and those 2 brutal knockdowns, by the way. And you could see the second one, he was like, okay, but he recovered, and even though he got knocked down twice, there was moments where he was landing on Jermaine, and Jermaine didn't look really good about it because even his defense wasn't the greatest. He doesn't keep his guard up. He doesn't, he doesn't throw. He lets his hands go and just throws wild stuff. I mean, he was throwing low kicks, then jabs, and low kicks, and kind of doing it almost in the same motion or movement. But that kind of leaves you open for a counter, right? And then Teng Nuang, once he got up from that second knockdown, he kind of survived that first round, which is really good. He tied up and recovered, and then when they went into that second round, he looked like he was like, all right, I need to get this knockdown back. I need to actually get this dude out of here. And then what he did was he caught the kick, the right, it was a left kick from Jermaine, caught it, and they got close to the ropes, and he just walked Jermaine down and threw a hard overhand left. And once that landed, Jermaine just had nothing for it, couldn't make the 8 count. And when he did try to come back up, he was just seeing stars all the time, and ultimately got the knockout. And yeah, the crowd lit up. But I think Teng Nuang doesn't really want to. He might want to go down to featherweight, it sounds like, because I think the weight cut was a bit big for him, or I don't think he likes the frame. I'm not sure what it was. I need to watch the interview. But I think what he said was that he's going to try and go down a division, if I'm not mistaken, which I think is smart because there's also a lot more opponents for him in that division, right? And he might be a little bit big for featherweight, but which is also going to be fine because I mean you got some fantastic fighters. There's Nico Carrillo's. There's it's just a very very stacked division for him. But what that also means is that fighters like Jermaine Jarvis, Liam Nolan, Nozawat, the Immortal. There's just less opponents for fighters like that now, and I think it's a division that kind of needs more athletes. So hopefully that these two guys kind of stay around, and we can see more lightweight Muay Thai, bigger fighters fighting in Muay Thai. You saw what happens after this. We have Roman Kriklia. He's not even a middleweight Muay Thai champion. So after this, we have Roman Kriklia, and he's already struggling to find opponents. So I think the One Championship is going to have to encourage a lot more lightweight guys to compete if they can. But it was a nice performance from Teng Nuang, regardless. Let me know in the comments who you think they should be fighting next, by the way. Then we have Khan Pitak, who took on Majid Karimi. Another knockout on the fight card in the second round. Fantastic first round. The guys were going a little bit back and forth. I think there was a knockdown or was it this? I think it was a little bit of a knockdown, I'm not mistaken, but it was a flash knockdown for Khan Pitak. But Majid fought really well, by the way. I mean, I didn't discourage him. His movement was fantastic. He fought out of both stances. I thought he looked really good. I didn't give him the best encouragement, but he looked really good in terms of once he came back from a knockdown. Because then in the second round, he just threw his shots and he was letting his body work go, and he was throwing nice straights out of different stances. And eventually, once he got Khan Pitak to the ropes, he threw a fantastic left body shot, bang, dropping Khan Pitak, and he ultimately couldn't really recover from that. And it was a beautiful finish for me. I think he also got a bonus, if I'm not mistaken. So Majid, I'm amped. And again, look at the weight. It's 122 pounds. There's some fun fights that can be made for the future of One Championship when it comes to this lighter weight. So I'm excited to see Majid fight again. I want to see his guard stay up a little bit more and not be so reckless. Because if he's a little bit more composed, he can be a very deadly fighter. But fun performance from him. And then lastly, the way we saw Nong take on Muhammad Ali. And this was Muhammad Ali's debut, and he just kind of danced around the ring, piecing up Nong O, just being ultimately elusive, not letting Nong O settle, not giving him a chance to sort of let his heavy hands or body work go. I think Muhammad was just too slick, fantastic footwork, established the jab, established the elbow, established the kicks, just looked like a fantastic, well-rounded Muay Thai practitioner, and we're excited to see what he looks like next. I want to see him take on someone that's not necessarily going to just rely on like an overhand or something like that. Someone that's going to meet him for pace and kind of cut off the ring and not give him so much geography to move around. Because that's his best footwork. That's his best attribute is his footwork. Footwork fighters are hard to track down, so they always piecing you up consistently. So you kind of have to make the fight ugly against fighters like that. Don't let them skate. Don't let them skate around. Close the distance. make them fight a fight that grueling fight, stay in the clinch work with them, make it ugly. Then you see what they look like because they don't like fights like that. But I think he fought really well, and it was a good debut. So I'm fascinated to see what he looks like in the One Championship as they progress. The rest of the card was amazing as well. Liu Junchao took on Akito Nakashima. Strawweight kickboxing. So we know Jonathan Diabella, Strajanchai. We got some good fighters in there. Akito, both these guys are young, by the way. I think Akito is only 19 years old and Liu is only 20. And these guys were going back and forth. Split decision was a correct decision for me. I did think that Akito had a tough time in the first round. But in round 2, he was putting on the show. And in round 3, he was kind of a little bit in the middle, but Akito still had more in the tank to go. And he looked like he was just, what he utilized really well was that calf kick. And he utilized it from the beginning. I mean, the Japanese use that Kyokushin technique, right? So he was establishing the calf kick from the first round. And as the fight was going on, you could see that Leo didn't like it. He was slowing down. He couldn't step on that leg very well. He was checking it in a very weird and awkward manner. Ultimately, then Akito kind of dictate the pace, and that's how he got the job done. So fabulous performance, very exciting prospect for both these guys. But Akito, let's see what you got going forward. Let's see what he looks like when the division progresses, because that strawweight division is starting to really level itself up. Then in the MMA discipline, we have Alexandre Khan, who took on Giovannis Decros from Panama. Fight didn't really go that long. There we go, second round submission from Alexandre. Featherweight MMA, massive dudes. So they say featherweight, right? So UFC's featherweight MMA is 145. These guys are technically, for me, if you look how big they are, they're 155, maybe even bigger than that. They're quite massive, actually. But Alexandre got the submission. It was a beautiful performance from him. Also defended really well. He escaped some of the other submissions that was happening to him, because Giovannis did land a guillotine and he just got out of it really well, powered out of that and landed the submission. Beautiful choke, a rear naked choke. I think he should have let go of it a little bit earlier, but it was beautiful. Bismarck Gomez from Brazil took on Ruslan Arslan Garif from Turkey. Fight only was one round. Ruslan is predominantly a striker, I've heard, but he got the submission very early in that fight, took it down and tapped out the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. So, yeah, nice performance, and this is a good sign for One Championship, because they can kind of fill out the welterweight MMA division, welterweight and featherweight, where Ali Akbar Abdullayev is the current champion. So these two divisions need more athletes. So I'm quite stoked to see that they've done that. And yeah, let's go, man. Let's go. I want to see more MMA in One Championship. I know they have higher fight to pay, so it's kind of hard to get him fight more regularly. But I think they keep doing this on the Friday fight cards, where they're doing these the first two fights are MMA fights. I think it's good. It's good for the divisions, because they can put these guys into divisions, and when they have their fight night cards or they numbered cards, you can prioritize more of these MMA dudes, right? But that's my time, ladies and gentlemen. If you have made it this far, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I've seen the comments. I've seen the numbers going up, so big ups to that. Let us know who you think is gonna. Let us know who you think is gonna need more opponents, especially for Kong Chai. Let me know who you think should be fighting next. I think he should be getting the contact fight next, of course. But also, before I conclude, we will be doing a recap. I know I said we will have the full panel for this one. Unfortunately, some of the guys had to deal with some other matters. But tomorrow, you can expect myself and the gentleman to do a recap for the UFC fight card that's taking place later. That's Gilbert Burns taking on Michael Morales. Then also next week, I'm super excited for this one. We have one Friday fights on 109. Look at that. When last have you saw a Friday fight card with that kind of poster? That must tell you we have fantastic fights coming up. And I'm having almost sleepless nights just thinking about these matchups, because this is gonna be an exciting card. Oh, look at that. Star power. There's just star power everywhere. So yeah, we're gonna be doing a nice preview for that one next week. So that'll be next week's stuff. On that note, have a fantastic week, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe, stay blessed. Love for the love. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.